Welcome to another edition of Talkable San Leandro. We are back. It's been a bit of a hiatus, a couple of months, but we've got some good people lined up. We got a great one today. We have Xouhoa Bowen here. Xouhoa, thanks for having me in.
Yeah,
good.
Welcome.
Well, you know, we've known each other for some time now through Rotary, and I've known about Community Impact Lab. It's a great name because it can mean a lot of things, and I've participated in a few things, and I want to talk about those things and have a better understanding what you're doing here. But before that, I'd like to have you tell us a little bit about yourself. Okay. And I'd like to hear kind of, you know, where you grew up, your childhood, and kind of that story, because I think it's always a good thing for people to know what you've built here, who that person is.
Sure. So the story starts in Laos. So I was born in Laos, and before I turned 1, we left and lived in a refugee camp in
How did you leave? What was that? Was that a...
How did we leave? We left at nighttime on a boat. I think the way that I remember the story is that we may have, I don't know if I was on camera, but we have been bribed or found a way to cross the Mekong River. And my mom was pregnant. I think she was 6-7 months pregnant, and then we just went across at night and then spent our first night in Thailand in a Thai jail because we were being processed.
Wow.
And then we spent the next 3.5 years in northern Thailand.
In northern Thailand. A camp in Thailand?
Yes.
Okay. And so how old you were? So you were 4 years old then when you left there. And so then you made your way to?
Rockford, Illinois.
Rockford, Illinois.
Yeah, so my father, we were sponsored there. My father knew somebody from Laos who had a grocery store there. Okay. And so we were able to move in with them, and then my dad could start to find work.
And when you say we, how many of you? Just you and your mom and dad, or?
My sister, she was born in the refugee camp.
Oh, she was? Okay, okay.
Yeah, and she's actually a big reason why we're actually out of the Bay Area, so we'll get to that later.
Okay.
But yeah, so we grew up in the Midwest and went to school, and then eventually graduated and went to Milwaukee.
Now, the school you went to, was it a mixed, did you have a lot of mixed race there? Was it?
Like growing at my like elementary, middle school.
Yeah.
So interesting. So the neighborhood that we grew up in was a lower income school, and I think I came home maybe in 1st, 2nd grade and used the word ain't in conversation, and my father immediately, who very much values education and said, we're going to America and you're going to do a good job, said that's not okay.
But there ain't no ain't here.
Yeah. And so he actually did a lot of research and learned English and was really set on making sure that we'd be okay, and got us into basically like a magnet program. It was like a creative and performing arts and a gifted program. Cool. And so we were in a very diverse program within a really diverse school. And so we had a really good mix of, I think, a really strong academic foundation, a really strong arts foundation, but then also being in a school that was, I think, a lot more diverse in terms of experience and socioeconomics and race and everything else.
Well, it sounds like a great situation. So then through school, college, you went in Milwaukee as well?
Yeah, so I went to Marquette University,
great university.
Which is, very much based on social justice. Right. And I studied international affairs and psychology. I really, at that time, wanted to be able to understand and analyze how people behave in order to sort of make better decisions for us as a society. Right. And so I, total bleeding heart and worked in service learning and wanted to just help people.
That's nice. Helping is good. I've got kids, they want to help. They're doing helping things. Good. No, it's good. So then how did you end up coming out here?
Well, I went the long way. So I graduated school and then I joined the Peace Corps.
Oh, you did?
I was a English teacher in Kyrgyzstan. Okay. A country that I didn't really know until I was placed there, and I was in a small village. I was the first American they had ever met, which confused them because I looked a lot more like them
than I was thinking.
like you. And so that was an interesting experience. And then I came home, went back to Milwaukee, and was working at a nonprofit there, teaching English to refugees. And I just got really overwhelmed. I remember people asking me about Peace Corps and about Kyrgyzstan, and I would share stories, and I could sort of see their eyes begin to glaze over, you know, and then the next question would be, that's great. Are you thinking about buying a condo? Do you want to build equity? All of these things that, you know, for me, I was not
in that part of, you weren't thinking about those things coming back from Kyrgyzstan.
Yeah, definitely reverse culture shock, and I had a lot of friends from Peace Corps that were actually teaching English in South Korea.
Okay.
Which wasn't on my radar at all, and so I think I wanted to go to law school. I wanted to become an international lawyer, so I took my LSATs and I said, okay, I have to wait at least 9 months to find out, and so I'll just go teach for a short time.
As you say, South Korea?
Yeah, in South Korea, in Seoul. Just still be out there, still traveling.
Right.
And so I just left, I think 2 days after I took my LSATs, and then I, instead of staying for 9 months, ended up staying for 7 years.
7 years?
7 years in Korea.
In Korea?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then
here.
Yeah,
I've been here. And then when I came, you know, obviously when I left for Korea, I was young and single and super idealistic. And when we were coming back, I was still very idealistic, but I was married and I had 2 young kids.
You got married in South Korea? Okay. Okay. Wow. And so then you came back here right to the Bay Area?
And the reason why is because my sister, the one that was born in Thailand, did her PhD at Cal.
Ah, wow.
And so she had been living here for almost 10 years. And then my youngest sister, who was born in the Midwest, she was in Oakland doing Teach for America.
Well, look at that. The whole family. Your parents are still back in Milwaukee?
No, so everybody's in California
everyone's
now.
Here. Well, beautiful. What a great story. Well, good. So good. So bring us up to date. So Community Impact Lab, what's the idea? And has that idea changed from when you started?
Yeah, the idea hasn't changed, but you know, it's definitely evolved.
Right.
So a lot of it comes from that experience of becoming a mother, the experience of becoming, or of being a woman, and sort of opportunities that were given. You know, like I had a lot of experience meeting and talking with and learning about women's experiences throughout the world.
Right.
And from one end of the spectrum in Kyrgyzstan, not until very recently, it was still common practice and legal to partake in the practice of bride kidnapping.
Oh, wow.
Which is this process of anything from knowing a classmate and sort of taking her and then she becomes yours, or you're literally coming down from the mountains and going and taking somebody off the street.
Right.
To, you know, being in South Korea and having, you know, very traditional roles that men and women play, especially once somebody becomes a mother or a parent. You know, like the husband tends to work very long hours. The woman sort of takes on the role of mother, and although South Korean women are one of the highest educated groups in all the OECD countries, once they sort of reach that stage of motherhood, it sort of just drops, right? No matter how educated you are, your role is to sort of take care of your kids.
Right.
And so when I came back here, I was very much aware of all of these things and still really wanted to come back to America, make an impact, sort of explore other ways that I wanted to give and do good. And so it really shaped what I wanted to do. I really wanted to take my experience of becoming a new mom and having these 2 young kids and wanting to focus on gender parity and empowering women and with agency. So actually having the choice and actually having the power, the influence, the access to information to empower, to thrive and to actually pursue the things that they wanted to do. And that was really hard to do, is because we had just moved here. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know the community. I had been out of the country for so long, and I had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old who were both at home at that point. And so I said, well, I know I want to do these things. I know that there's a problem. It's going to take 217 years until we reach gender parity. I can't wait. My kids can't wait. I will just have to come up with a solution myself. And I know that policy has to change and entire systems have to change. But, you know, at Marquette, the motto is be the difference. And it was, what can I do now?
And it's important to aggregate like-minded people around you. And at a certain point, people just don't understand what's possible until they come together and talk about it. And with people who are thinking in the same way. So I see this kind of place. I participated in that one program you guys did for expecting mothers. And I really saw that there. You can just see all these young people, mothers, who are talking with other young women and sharing ideas about what's possible and what.
Yeah. And, you know, we talked a little bit about it off camera, about one of the things that really sparked me to do it when I did it versus becoming more prepared or building it out more or waiting for things to happen was because at that time there was especially all over social media, you know, a lot around the refugee crisis. And the reality is that, like, there have been refugee crises, like, throughout history, but it was so in our faces. And I saw all of these people really feel moved.
Right.
You know, but
well, I think you're right. There's a much more people are more aware of this now. We see it come across the news, and kind of you know, modern day slavery is essentially what is happening before our very eyes.
Right. And just because you like something or you make a sad face or you share something, that's sort of where it starts, not where it ends.
Right.
You know, there's this idea of collectivism where you just like, that's it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like you're just responding that way. And I said, there's no point in sharing this news if you don't at least do something about it.
Right, you have to mobilize.
And I think a lot of people don't realize what they can do where they are, or they don't realize how one small act can actually make a much larger difference.
Yep.
And so that's really sort of what I wanted to be able to mobilize people to do, was to sort of nudge people to say, hey, you care about this thing. Did you know that we can actually do something here and now?
Yeah.
And we can do it with our kids, because that was one of the biggest barriers for me and for a lot of women.
Having children and not being able to have the flexibility and the time to get things done.
Yeah.
So this space, located in Bayfair Mall, is a co-working space. And what else do you do here?
Yeah, so it's interesting because it is a co-working space, but that's a sort of a benefit, or as one of sort of like tools that we're giving to women.
I see.
Right? So the idea is that Community Impact Lab, really our mission is to empower women, especially mothers, to be able to live, give, and grow to their fullest potential. Meaning, you're able to volunteer, you're able to make a social impact, you're able to make an environmental impact, you're able to learn, develop skills, start new businesses, you know, develop resources so that you can sustain, actually make decisions, and really build that tribe, that like in-person social interaction that we don't have as much anymore, especially in an area where there's a lot of people that are transplants that don't necessarily.
When you say that, of course, I just think of this, you know, our social media world now, where there's so little of this, what we're doing, and it's the results and the data are very serious about kind of the implications for people's mental health, and so in any case, I think that's coming around, but we're still miles away from the recognition of how important it is to back away.
Absolutely. And so I think about, okay, what problem are we trying to solve then, right? If we're trying to do this and empower women to actually have agency to be able to do these things, what are the things that stops them from being able to do that? It's usually not having flexibility, right? Or a place that they can go to where they can also bring their children, or opportunities that value them or support them or give them access. So let's say I'm a mom and I want to learn about something new. If you do it at a time that's more convenient for me, knowing what my lifestyle is, so probably not at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday night, right? Or not at 7 a.m. on a Thursday morning, then I could do that. And so we try to build out programming that accommodates that. And so another thing that women often have access to, and that, you know, one study that just recently came out from the University of Notre Dame and University of Chicago, was that the idea of women supporting women is actually backed up by data. So for women who have other women in their cohort or in their networks, they are 2 times more likely to get a leadership position than women that are not. And for men, it doesn't matter either way. Right.
You provide?
Yeah, so lots of clothes, diapers, books. Basically, the idea is anything that a new parent would need in that first 2 years. Obviously, we can't give them everything, but we kind of just do like a mix of it, and then we source it from the community. So from families in the community that will actually donate items. And sometimes companies will actually donate items as well, so blankets or toys that they have in stock or maybe are no longer selling, so they'll call us and ask us if we would like it. And the idea is that our families will come together and sort the donations and make sure that they're in a condition that is either new or like new, something that you would be really happy to give, something that is respectful and it has integrity and dignity.
Exactly.
Because sometimes I think when you think about giving to others and with charity, you feel like, oh, you can just give stuff away. But you really do want to make sure that the women that we are giving the items to feel like they are supported, and it's our way of doing that. And so the kids included will come and sort donations and then actually pack them into little boxes, and then we cover it with like tissue paper and we tape it up and we put a little ribbon on it or a sticker on it, because that's what you would do if it was your friend. Yeah, it's a gift, right?
No, and so. And they are beautiful boxes, and I remember watching the women pick them up, and it's just it's such a pleasant experience getting something that is been made for you.
Yes, and so that's why we call them our Lift Me Up boxes, because that's what they are. They aren't hand-me-downs. They really are our way of saying, you know what, like I as a woman, I as a mother can absolutely understand where you are coming from and can empathize, because we have so much more in common than different, even though we may not know it because we don't get a chance to talk. And so we give out probably 500 to 700 boxes a year through nonprofit organizations. So
and the idea of getting a gift to support young mothers in their journey coming up, I can't imagine a better kind of a way to let people know how important they are to the community. Especially a lot of people who feel like they've been forgotten. And so
absolutely.
I just think it's just a beautiful event. So how can people get involved? How can people help?
So they can in a few different ways. One, the program is year-round. We give out the boxes to hundreds of families, but once a year we actually invite the nonprofits that we work with to invite their clients. So we have people from who are asylum seekers, we have survivors of domestic violence and are homeless. We have new mothers across the board who are actually going to come to Bay Fair next week, and they'll spend 2 hours really just feeling celebrated. And so we always are looking for donations in terms of diapers and wipes and creams, things that are expensive. There's a huge diaper crisis, and it's really expensive. And I think the statistic is like 1 out of 4 women, if not more than that, new moms can't afford diapers for their kids. We also would love volunteers to be able to come and help us with the Lift Me Up program throughout the year, but also next week to actually help us set up the boxes and then set up and be at the shower and participate.
Jill and I are talking about coming, so we'll be here putting boxes together.
Yeah.
Well, listen, this has been a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for what you're doing here. It just speaks volumes about our community, the kind of way we want to talk about our community.
Yeah.
And I want to ask everyone out there to please, if you think this video has touched you in some way, please share this in your social media, share it in your email, send it out carrier pigeon. Just share it, get it out there. I can't share it with my social media. I've given up my Facebook for what I think are some good reasons, but hey, I'm going to be doing my part sharing it as well. So thank you again for joining us, and please join us again with our next guest.
Thank you,
Xouhoa.
Thank you.